Hi, I'm Streaky, this is Streaky Mastering, and today is Q&A day. So, today's questions are from, the first one is Matt Garber, who asks, how long does it take to master a track? Has that changed over the years? And his other question is, how has the mastering process changed over the years? So, how long does it take and what happens? Well, when I first started in the 90s, it was DATs and U-matics, which are big kind of Betamax tapes, if anyone knows what they are. And there wasn't any computer systems, so it took a while to master. You had to master everything, sync it all up at the same time so that the machine's locked with time code. Really dull, sorry, but that's how it worked. It was a long process. So to master a track, to play it back, even just to play the track back, took the time it took for the tape to rewind to the bit of time code and then lock itself up. It wasn't just start, stop, you know. So to master a track, it probably took about an hour to do one track. And that's if it's all gone well, if it's an easy track to master, if it's something that doesn't need too much work and you were just sort of listening through, say 5 or 6 times and making tweaks as you go, say it'd take about an hour just because of the lockup times and all that sort of stuff, and also laying it then off to another tape to then send that off, and then that would then need some cassette copies to go for references to the A&R person. So it was a big old process in the sort of late 90s. Obviously now it's totally different. You're mastering on a computer, it's just going in and out of the computer, you're banging out files and emailing them off. So it's a totally different world. And if you've got a track that's going really well, it probably takes between 30 minutes and 45 minutes, probably more 30 minutes to master a track. You've got to listen to it quite a few times. It all depends on the length of the track. I mean, that's why it's a lot quicker now to master stuff. But because the software's there, you can, you know, I'm mastering out of the box, so I'm not actually using software, but I'm using it to record. You get what I'm saying? So that's kind of changed. The price, ridiculously enough, weirdly enough, has not changed at all. So when I first started mastering, it was the same amount of money to master a track then, but it wasn't done by the track then. Everything was done by the hour. Because of online mastering, most things are now per track. But back then you were mastering, say, an album. People weren't doing as many single tracks. If you were doing a single track, you were doing it as part of an EP. I don't remember mastering many just one trackers. It was, you were mastering something to go to vinyl, you were mastering something with 3 or 4 tracks. So that's kind of how it's changed as well. People would master, it was for CD. So you had to have a certain amount of tracks on the CD. There was no point in mastering one and then sending that off, only if you were doing that for radio, but then that would be a radio version rather than the single version, because that would be different back then. And you'd have remixes and things like that that would be going on the single. So you would be charging by the hour, so that's changed. Now it's per track. And I think that's kind of the amount of money is pretty much the same, which is weird over the last 20 years for that not to change. But the music industry's changed a lot. You know, people don't buy as many records. Record companies aren't making as much money out of CDs. Only sort of the 1% are. But, you know, small independents aren't making as much money as they used to do back then from selling CD hard copies of stuff. And how's the mastering process changed? Well, for me, that hasn't actually changed too much. Like I say, the way that I play it in and out has changed, because that used to be playing either off of a DAT or off of a hard copy of something and then recording back to a hard copy of something. The only way that's changed is that the rest of it is pretty much the same. A lot of this equipment, you know, is stuff that I was using 20 years ago. There's modern versions of things, obviously, like EQs have changed, maybe Mass Select. Well, I was using Mass Select stuff early 2000s. You know, there's various digital things. Limiters have changed. Everything needs to be louder, so you need limiters. You only used to limit a dB, and now you've got to limit a dB after the A to D converter, which is that prism there. You only had to add like a dB on, and then that was how loud it was. But now people want things about 6 dB louder than that. So you need to add a few more limiters to the chain. I've spoken about it before. I use Fab Filter quite a lot. I use the TC, and I use the L2, and I use the Oxford. So I use loads of different ones depending on the track, but it's just to get that extra gain which you need, which is the sound of today. There's no reason, if you don't add that, the sound of those limiters is kind of, you're so used to that sound now that it doesn't sound like a finished track until you've got that sort of stuff across it. I'm talking pop music, and I'm talking certain types of music. Obviously if it's classical then that's irrelevant, but things that need to be loud for radio or for commercial products, basically. So, okay, next question is from Ricardo Ferrandez. Hopefully I've said that right. Why do you choose PMCs for your main monitors? And have you got any others that you like? The PMCs basically are because Metropolis as a studio has a deal with PMC going back from when Metropolis first started. Metropolis started at the same time, roughly the same time as PMC. They built 2 big mastering studios here, put PMCs in them for free as their kind of show-off rooms, the BB5s, the big ones. And, you know, so PMC were part of building Metropolis's rooms. And so it was all sort of intertwined with Leif Masses building the equipment, PMC doing the speakers, different people doing the room acoustics, things like that. So all those people came together to build the rooms at Metropolis. And so that's why PMC have always been here. There's an ongoing deal all the time. So all the rooms at Metropolis have PMC stuff. And as PMC's grown, then obviously the speakers have changed, and there's a PMC surround room downstairs, a cinema, sort of playback room. There's different size speakers. These are the smaller versions than the BB5s. The big BB5s the other rooms have got. This room's a little bit smaller, so it doesn't actually warrant BB5s. They're a bit overkill for this room. This room's also a 5.1 room, so there is, in front of me, 2 speakers hanging above, and then you can see the center channel, and then that's why there's 3 speakers behind me rather than just the 2. Personally, I like PMCs. I have actually worked on PMCs quite a lot. When I worked at Soundmasters, I worked on them for about 7 or 8 years, the big BB5s, and I got used to them. They were soffit mounted, which means they were in the wall, and personally I didn't like the sound of them in the wall. I don't like the sound of any main speakers in the wall. It kind of just sounds like it is the wall. Obviously some speakers are made for that reason, but I still don't like the sound. It's weird, you can kind of hear around the speaker when it's sitting away from the wall. It sounds weird, but you can hear that because you've got that space around it. It sounded to me when we had them soffit mounted, these massive BB5s like in front of me there, that the whole wall was the speaker. And I think at one point it was, because someone had drilled the wall into the speaker, which was a nice touch. They found that out when they went to recloth the room, but so basically, yeah, the whole wall was one speaker at one point, and it wasn't great. The bass wasn't as good as when they're freestanding like this. I really like the bass on BB5s and on these. The bass is tight. They're really crystal clear PMCs. They're really bright. They're really hardcore. When you get used to them, you can get a result out of them, and I don't tend to need to use the small speakers. Having said that, I'm using the PSIs quite a lot to EQ on these little ones here. I tend to find that I'm starting to EQ on them like I used to do with my NS10s. I still love the NS10s, but I've always been looking for something a bit smoother in my near fields. So the big ones, I had B&Ws before. I loved the B&Ws. They were great. They were hi-fi E-type speakers, super smooth, really easy to listen to all day. You didn't need to have them pumped up too loud. The thing is, I find with the PMCs, I have to have them super loud to be able to feel and hear the detail that I want to get. And ideally, I don't want to do that because it hurts my ears, but I have to, you know. So, it feels good to pump them up, but everyone goes crazy here that I'm playing it too loud. But it's the only way I can get those speakers I personally think to sound how I want them. So my personal choice would be B&Ws. I think they've got those at Abbey Road. Basically, that's why I probably couldn't have them here, because Abbey Road is Abbey Road and they've got their thing and Metropolis have got their thing, so it probably goes against them. But my personal choice would be B&Ws. Super smooth, really nice. Listen to them all day. You just want to listen to music on them. You just want to turn them on. You want to turn them up. You just want to listen to stuff. These PMCs, I don't feel that way. I don't feel warmth. I don't feel that I'm not in love with them. They're very good. They're very clear. They're very good at getting the job done, but they're not as warm and cuddly as I found my B&Ws to sound like a complete knob. But anyway, that's what I think on loudspeakers. I have the big speakers. I'd like to say I haven't heard any others. I'm going to check out the PSIs have got a bigger speaker and a floor mounted sub, so a similar sort of setup to what I've got there with the PMC. So I'm going to check those out in the next couple of weeks. So maybe what I'll do is, as I'm checking them out, I'll do a video review of the big PSIs. They're mega money, but it'll be interesting to hear how they compare to the PMCs when they're sitting next to them in the room that I know. So that should be interesting. But anyway, thanks for your questions, guys. If you've got any more, then please put them in the comments, and just let me know what you want to know. I'm happy to answer anything. So just email me, streaky@streaky.com, or put them in the comments. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And go to streaky.com if you want to see anything else about mastering and mixing from me and Shay. And thanks for watching. Until next time. Thank you. Bye.